Do you know what happened on September 11, 2001? This date is etched into the annals of history as a day that shook the world to its very core. It was on this day that a series of coordinated suicide attacks were carried out by the extremist group Al-Qaeda against the United States. The attacks were not random, but meticulously planned and executed, revealing a chilling narrative of terror and destruction. The world watched in horror as 4 passenger planes were hijacked and used as weapons, targeting major U.S. landmarks. The North and South Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where United Airlines Flight 93 crashed after passengers bravely attempted to regain control of the plane. Today, we will delve into the details of that fateful day, understanding its timeline, the impact, and the aftermath. So let's embark on this journey of discovery together. Early morning, September 11th, 4 commercial planes take off, unknowingly carrying a deadly cargo. In the dawn of a seemingly ordinary day, the world stood still as 4 commercial flights were hijacked, marking the start of a series of events that would forever change history. Unbeknownst to the passengers and crew, these planes were not destined for their scheduled locations. The first plane to be hijacked was American Airlines Flight 11. It departed from Boston, Massachusetts, with Los Angeles as its original destination. However, the flight never made it to the West Coast. Instead, it was flown into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City, turning a symbol of economic prowess into a scene of utter devastation. Following closely behind was United Airlines Flight 175, also departing from Boston and heading towards Los Angeles. This plane met a fate eerily similar to the first, crashing into the South Tower of the World Trade Center. The Twin Towers, once standing tall and proud, were now engulfed in smoke and flames. The third hijacked flight, American Airlines Flight 77, left from Washington, D.C. with a destination set for Los Angeles. This flight veered off course and crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, the nerve center of the United States military. The final flight, United Airlines Flight 93, took off from Newark, New Jersey, bound for San Francisco. Courageously, the passengers on Flight 93 fought back against the hijackers in an attempt to regain control of the plane. Their efforts, though heroic, resulted in the plane crashing into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, far away from its intended target, believed to be a landmark in Washington, D.C. In less than 2 hours, 4 planes had turned from vehicles of transport to instruments of destruction. The hijackings were not just attacks on individual targets, but an assault on the ideals and freedoms that these landmarks represented. The world watches in horror as the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center collapse. The immediate impact of the attacks was unprecedented, shaking the very foundations of the nation and reverberating around the globe. At the heart of New York City, the Twin Towers, once a symbol of American prosperity and resilience, crumbled to the ground in a cloud of smoke and debris. The collapse of these iconic structures was not just a physical destruction, it represented a shattering of the sense of security, a blow to the American psyche. The dust that rose from the wreckage coated the city in a gray blanket, a stark and chilling reminder of the terrible events of that morning. Across the river in Arlington, Virginia, the Pentagon, the nerve center of the U.S. military, was also under attack. American Airlines Flight 77, another hijacked plane, had been flown into the side of the building, causing a massive explosion and a gaping hole in the symbol of American defense. The damage was extensive, and the suddenness of the attack left the military and the nation reeling. Meanwhile, in the skies over Pennsylvania, the passengers of United Airlines Flight 93 had realized their flight had been hijacked. Displaying incredible courage, they attempted to regain control of the plane. In the ensuing struggle, the aircraft plunged into a field in Shanksville, far from its intended target, likely in Washington, D.C. The human toll of these attacks was devastating and immediate. Approximately 2,977 lives were tragically cut short, including passengers on the planes, first responders rushing into the flaming buildings, and civilians in the targeted buildings. These were mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, each one a loss that would ripple through families, communities, and the nation. The immediate aftermath was devastation on a scale never before seen on American soil. This was not just an attack on buildings or people, but an attack on a way of life, on the ideals and freedoms that define the nation. The events of that fateful September day marked a turning point in American history, changing the world forever. In the face of tragedy, a nation responds. The September 11th attack sent shockwaves around the world, and the immediate response from the United States was swift and decisive. The nation was in mourning, but it was also in a fight for justice. The first step in this journey was the initiation of what came to be known as the War on Terror. The War on Terror represented a global military, political, and ideological struggle against terrorism. The term was first used by U.S. President George W. Bush during a speech to Congress on September 20th, just 9 days after the attacks. The objective was clear, and the mission was set: to wage war against those who initiated these horrific acts of violence. In October of the same year, less than a month after the attacks, the US and its allies invaded Afghanistan. The goal was to dismantle the extremist group Al-Qaeda, which was responsible for the attacks, and to remove the Taliban regime that had provided them safe harbor. The invasion began with an aerial bombardment campaign, followed by ground operations. The Taliban government was swiftly toppled, and Al-Qaeda's network in the country was significantly disrupted. It was a necessary response to an unprecedented act of terror. Yet the war in Afghanistan was just the beginning. The war on terror expanded to include global efforts to counter terrorist groups wherever they might be found. It led to significant changes in US foreign policy and military strategy, with an increased focus on preemptive action and worldwide counterterrorism operations. It's important to note, however, that this response was not without controversy. Questions were raised about the effectiveness and the ethical implications of some of the measures taken in the name of the war on terror. But in the immediate aftermath of September 11th, the priority was clear: to bring the perpetrators to justice and to prevent such an attack from ever happening again. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in global politics and warfare. The echoes of 9/11s are still heard today. The reverberations of this cataclysmic event have transformed the contours of our world in ways that are both tangible and profound. In the immediate aftermath, the United States, under the leadership of President George W. Bush, launched what was termed as the War on Terror. This ushered in a new era of US foreign policy, marked by military invasions in Afghanistan and later Iraq, with the objective of dismantling Al-Qaeda and removing regimes supporting terrorism. At home, the attacks led to significant changes in security measures. Airports were transformed into fortresses with the introduction of stringent security checks, while surveillance and intelligence operations were ramped up nationwide. The need for a unified national security framework culminated in the creation of the Department of Homeland Security, a new arm of the government tasked with protecting the United States from varied threats. In tandem, the USA Patriot Act was implemented, expanding law enforcement's ability to monitor and intercept communications in the pursuit of preventing future terrorist attacks. This act, while pivotal in the fight against terrorism, sparked debates about the balance between security and civil liberties that continue to this day. But perhaps the most visible reminders of the enduring legacy of 9/11 are the memorials erected at the sites of the attacks. The National September 11th Memorial and Museum in New York City stands as a solemn tribute to the nearly 3,000 lives lost. Its twin reflecting pools, set in the footprints of the fallen Twin Towers, serve as a poignant reminder of the void left by this tragedy. Across the country, in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, similar memorials ensured that the victims of the attacks on United Airlines Flight 93 and American Airlines Flight 77 are not forgotten. The events of September 11, 2001, altered the course of history and continue to shape our world today. The aftermath of 9/11 serves as a testament to the resilience of societies in the face of adversity, and a reminder of our collective responsibility to prevent such tragedies in the future. In the span of a few hours, the world changed forever. On that fateful day, September 11, 2001, a series of meticulously planned and executed terrorist attacks shook the United States to its core. 4 passenger planes became lethal weapons, targeting the heart of American power and pride: the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Close to 3,000 lives were tragically lost. The immediate impact was devastating. The Twin Towers collapsed, the Pentagon was damaged, and countless lives were changed forever. The aftermath was just as profound, leading to significant changes in US foreign policy, security measures, and the initiation of the War on Terror. Yet, amidst the ashes and the rubble, the spirit of unity and resilience emerged. Memorials now stand tall, reminding us of the lives lost and the strength gained. While we remember the tragedy of 9/11s, it's also important to remember the resilience and unity it inspired. Until next time, stay curious and keep learning.